let's see. Model is Model Expo. And there. I can't breathe. I thought the plans were just fabulous. And they give you options. This is the way it should be done. You could do it this way, or maybe you want to do it that way. And you get so confused. Anyway, can I answer any questions?
Is that a solid hull? Solid or frame, bulkhead?
The exit door is right down
Thank you
there.
very much. They answered my own question.
No, it is not. It's bulwark.
Okay.
Yes.
Does that get copper plating on the bottom? Is
It will be.
Okay. I wasn't sure if the early clippers had that or not.
Well, any ship that goes into the tropics has to have it. It's what is it, a torpedo ring, worm or something like that?
Some type of woodworm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Barnacles.
Sea urchins.
And it says, what kind of wood you use? Every kind. You name it. Well, I don't have any more of that. Let me do this. Any questions? Okay. And I'll hook up with John Dressel and see if we can put something back together for next summer. It's too late to do it this summer.
Just a quick question. How long were you been working on this? A couple of months? More?
Yes, a couple of months on the part that I did. John probably do at least that much.
That was one of the kits that you bought at last year's auction, right?
No.
You bought that. I remember. Never mind.
Cancel.
Anything else?
Three masts?
Three masts,
Three masts.
foremast, mainmast, and mizzen.
One is missing? What makes it two? What makes it two? The last one is missing.
Okay then.
Hey!
Thank you. Thank you. Who am I giving this to,
You're up.
if anyone?
I'll be your wingman. I'll be tail end Charlie.
I think.
You need to take your ship.
Yes, I will.
Yeah,
Makes it easier on the next guy.
yeah. Right. Hello, are you there? 10-4. I can't hear a thing.
Testing.
Another model expo kit.
Well, last month I brought in my, is this on?
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause I can't hear it, so.
You have to talk into it as opposed to over there.
Don't ever get these hearing aids, they're terrible, terrible. Anyway, last month I brought in the Blue Nose, the original Canadian-built one, and I finally finished planking. And it was a learning opportunity for this size of a boat to make. I've done a lot of little stuff, but this is the first attempt at planking with all the different angles and different things to fix. The hardest part was the stern. I think it's the stern. Yeah. And the biggest thing on this particular one is learning the language of building a boat like this. The gun rail, the monkey things, I can't even remember, you know, I got a chart in my work room, and I got a picture of a boat with a lot of the diagrams on it with names on everything, because I have about a 3-second memory. But I'm going to continue working on this, even without all the problems with it. But I'm not going to paint it or stain it. I'm just going to keep this as a working model of how I had learned how to do the next one. So I'll finish this with the rigging and everything, but it won't be painted, stained, waxed, whatever. It'll just be the way it is, plus all my fingerprints from the super glue. But my wife heard me many times out in the garage saying a few things I won't mention, but she got so bad about me hearing these things, she bought me the Blue Nose 2, which is the American model. It's a larger model. I would say it's twice the size of the original one. So together with the new instructions on the old model and the new model, plus better pictures, I think I can finish this to where it looks like a reasonably good, presentable boat.
Cool.
So, but if you want to learn about ships and boats and all the different pieces and stuff, this is the way to go. But read the instructions, like I haven't. But I will from now on. I will from now on. But any questions on stuff? Okay, I'll see you next month.
That's a very well-made first model.
Yeah.
Can't say enough about it.
Oh, well, thank you.
Really good job.
That's it. Good point. Give me hope.
One other thing, for everybody that we've talked about, we have a lot of different clubs that use this hall. And we've got this PA system, we got the overhead projector. But not surprisingly, I talked to all of the clubs, and we talked about getting a lapel microphone that you just clip on your shirt, and then it picks up your voice a lot better. And another thing would be to have a camera that we could use to zoom in on the ships and pick up. So we're going to start kind of talking about collecting all of those, and then in each group have a team that understands how to set everything up. Because I can't come here and do it all of the time. And eventually get to the point where we could do little 15-minute videos of every meeting and put those online and hopefully get a little bit more interest. The problem with the videos, as most of you know, if you take a camera and just aim it at all the speakers, nobody in the world will watch it, right? In order to be seen, it needs to be edited. It needs to be cut down. All the ums and ums and all of that has to be taken out of the presentation, and that takes time. That takes time, and it takes people with a certain knowledge of how to do that. It's not hard, but it is something that you got to learn how to do. So think about that going forward. It's good knowledge to have in this day and age, a little bit of that multimedia stuff. All right, and next we got Bob's Buddha.
Bob! Bob, buddy! Bob!
Hey, Rob.
Where's Bob?
You are correct.
Is that hipper or high?
And you are almost correct. So I brought in a model of the German World War II heavy cruiser Admiral Hipper. And this shows that the hobby of building ship models doesn't have to be real expensive, because I bought this back in 1997 at good old Brookhurst Hobbies for the grand total of $3. Because it was a distressed kit, but the only distress it had was somebody had started it a little bit, and I think they were trying to convert it into one of its sister ships, because there was the Admiral Hipper, the first ship, and then the Blucher and Prinz Eugen, which went on to fame by sorting the Bismarck, as I'm sure all you guys know. So there was some modification the previous owner had done to the middle of the superstructure, and then he just quit. And so I had to do a little puttying and try to make it look like the Hipper. And but the funny part was, it's a waterline or full hull kit, one of those split hulls. So the bottom hull was from a totally different ship. Somebody had just, I don't know where the original hull went to, but they put in some other ship's hull, I guess to make you feel better when you buy it. But anyway, I didn't care because I was going to build it as a waterline model. So anyway, back in 1997, I bought this. So I guess that means that was about 29 years ago, and I'm finally getting around to building it. I guess that's worth something. So it's a 1:720 scale Revell. We all cut our teeth on these kits back in the day. And I actually like one thing about those kind of kits, which is the low parts count. The older I get, the more I like a low parts count kit. And I didn't have a base to put it on yet because it's not finished. It's pretty much almost done. Just have to put on the cranes and airplane and then do some weathering, but it's mostly done. Didn't have a base for it, so I just used my good old Conway's reference book. I guess I'll just give a little shout out to this series because I think they're really good. And if you buy 4 of these, you get the whole history of the age of steam and steel warships. The one that goes from the ending of the Civil War to the ending of the pre-dreadnought era. And then there's a volume that goes through World War I up until the Naval Treaty in 1922. And then there's this volume that takes you to the end of World War II. And then the final volume, which takes you from World War II. I think they printed it in 95. And then I guess the series stopped because I'm not aware of anything from Conway's since then. And actually for a long time, nobody was building warships pretty much during that later stage after the Cold War. So I found that final volume, I have all 4 volumes, that final volume was still very useful because nobody was building anything new pretty much. But in the last couple of decades, as you know, a lot of countries, especially the Chinese, are building a lot of new warships. So we really need a new volume of Conway's, but we'll see how long it takes for them to come out with that. So anyway, I just wanted to bring this in because I finally got back to work on it. So, if you have any questions or comments, ask away.
Is it already painted?
It is painted, yeah. It's a little hard to tell, so the deck color is there and gray.
Like Bismarck and Prinz Eugen had big stripes on the side and stuff. I think that's why we don't.
Yeah, I'll have to decide what time period I want to make it. So we'll see.
take me a half an
Mr.
hour.
Auditor.
Might be a Tim Conway one.
Got a whale of a tail there, right?
Be here for business.
If they need more planks to keep the water out. Seen it right off.
It's a fishing boat. You want to be able to see the fish below the boat. So you know
This is what I'm working on this time. You know, I've been working on a lot of paper and I figured I better get back into some wood or I'd lose all the skill. Too late, I lost all the skills. What I'm working on is this whaleboat.
But it doesn't look like
And this whaleboat is, can't even pronounce, 1 in 40 scale. This is 12 inches long, so you can do the math and see what the regular size is. This is my problem child. The instructions are in this little book. Too small for me to read, so I put it in my printer and blew it up. And now I have big copies of blurry words. You can't read them anywhere. So it's like, but it does give you some detail. A lot of the detail, the pictures and everything are all repetitious. They're the same thing, just a different angle, but they're very unhelpful. The Salmon model, I guess that's the name of the manufacturer. There's a lot of information in here, but none of it that I could use. Putting it together, so that was not helpful at all. Comes with a nice little packet of all the hardware and stuff like that. A lot of brass nails that are 1 centimeter long, and I don't know how thick they are, but they're made out of brass, and if you look at them sideways, they bend. And the instructions somewhere in there, it says that when I'm putting the planking in there to hold the pieces in place, you take one of these nail driving machines and everything, you put the nail in the end there, and you hold up and you push it, and you bend the nails. So after bending 30 or 40 nails and everything, I decided, you know what, that's not working for me. So I came here tonight to find out a solution to my problem, and I found out that if I pre-drill the hole and then put the nail in there, works great. A little bit smaller diameter, so it's nice and tight. So that solved part of my problem. Comes with a lot of planking, a lot of wood. A lot of you guys that have been around the flagpole a lot more than me know the names of these different kinds of wood and everything. I just know them as vanilla and chocolate, and that's it. That's the ones that we're going to put the dark wood here and put the lighter wood over there. Been fun at some time, been a nightmare at others. I used an old rigging machine and everything, had to put a couple of stems in here to kind of get them, so I can work on this baby upside down, or it works either way. The wood that they give you for the planking is not the right size wood for planking for something this small. The curves, the radius and stuff like that are way too small for something this thick. So when you're trying to bend them around the bow, which is another thing, the bow and the stern are designed differently. The bow, the planking lays on top of the block, which is the keel, extension of the keel with 2 pieces on the side. They're plywood, 7-layer plywood. And by the time they put the blocks on both sides and trample and glue them and all this stuff, it becomes concrete. And trying to put the nails in there, the nails aren't going to go. So the drilling is going to help me quite a bit. I'm still working on it. It's supposed to be, if you know anything about whaleboats, that the midsection here is supposed to be clinker lap straight on the outside. I gave that up a long time ago. This is going to be nice and smooth. I've never seen a whaleboat that's smooth here. It's always been clinker style or lap straight. So I'm going to do it the best I can to do on that. I'm working on now on the bow, trying to get these in so they'll hold, and hopefully with the recommendations of drilling and all that stuff, I can work that out and it'll come together. I've dug this particular model out of my trash can 3 times, working on it at night and say, it's in there, throw in the trash can, come in the morning and my work table's empty. I say, what'd they do with the oh, it's in the trash can. Dig it out and start working on it again. It's like, talk about frustrating. Oh my goodness, you know. But it keeps me going. It gives me, it's a challenge. It's, you know, I'm not going to let this little piece of wood get the best of me, you know. It's like, you know what? I even get up at 3 in the morning one time to go out to see if the glue was dry so I could take the pins out, take the nails out, And as soon as I took the nails out, ding, out they popped loose and it was like, what the heck? So, fun thing, whaleboats. Learned a lot about whaleboats when that, whaleboats, the oars on whaleboats, 3 on one side, 2 on the other. And there were 2 oars on one side, has the steering oar in the back, which is a lot longer than the rest of the oars. And that's where they're steered from. So I didn't know, I thought there was like, across the, but no. The instructions also say that these frames, when they get it, all the planking done, then I'm supposed to somehow get rid of this top brace that goes across the top of the frame here. Actually, it says remove both of them. I don't know, it's kind of small, you can't see it, but remove both the frames. But then on the next page, it says put the seats on the bottom frame. Well, if you've already cut them things out, you're not going to be putting the seats on anything. So then I'm thinking, okay, so I'm going to hold off there. I caught myself on that. So I'll be just taking the top ones out, and then the seats will be going on the bottom one. Or thwarts, as they call it, in the nautical term, thwarts. Anybody ever sit on your thwart? No, okay, we'll leave that alone. Anyway, questions? I'm not going to give you all the history of whaleboats. I'll do that next time. I was born and raised in Boston, East Boston, and moved to Peabody and Lynn and Gloucester, and all my relatives come from Gloucester, so I've been around whaleboats a hell of a lot, lobster boats and whaleboats and all that stuff. So this is, if I ever show this to one of my family members, they say, they sit there, for half an hour and point out all the things that are wrong about it. No, that's not a whaleboat. No more? That's it.
How long have you been building them?
How long have I been on this?
Yeah.
Month and a half. About a month and a half, 6 weeks. About 6 weeks. And my biggest problem is, like I said, the planking is too thick to be able to get compound curves. As you can see, that it not only bends this way, it has to twist. And so how do you get a twist into the planking? You soak it. I soaked it in water. Didn't work. I soaked it in hot water, steaming water, poured it over. Didn't work. I soaked it in water and put it in the microwave until it was steaming and hissing and everything. Didn't work. I soaked it in alcohol. Someone finally told me, you're supposed to use ammonia, not alcohol. So I used alcohol and that didn't work. The bow and the stern blocks that I mentioned earlier are designed differently. You can see that on the stern, the planking goes on the outside of these blocks. On the bow, they go and disappear underneath them somewhere. But it doesn't tell you how to actually make them go underneath. And so it's like, oh my God, there's going to be a lot of modifications in doing this. Was it a fun project? Yeah, if I ever get some success, it's really fun. But other than that, that's it. If I can find a ballpoint pen, I'll make out the rest of the paper.
I think Harlan's collecting.
Don, are you gonna go next?
I can go.
Yes, you have seen this before. This is my carrier Langley, but as we discussed last month for this August pizza night and get together, stuff that we've had years ago, let's give it another round because we haven't seen it in a while. This one I finished in 2022, so it's kind of made its rounds that year and hasn't been seen for about 4 years now. Been sitting on my desk at the office. This, yes, is the USS Langley, carrier number 1, 1/350th scale. Kit is by the Trumpeter Company. They also make it in the seaplane tender variant, but they don't make it in its original fit, which was a fleet collier. So about 540-foot long oil-burning ship meant to go out and resupply coal to the World War I era naval vessels. Now, the U.S. Navy was switching over to oil pretty quickly, but there were still a lot of coal-burning ships in the fleet, so they thought it was a good idea. And there were 4 or 6 ships in the class. A sister ship called, I think it was the Cyclops, that went down in the Bermuda Triangle, is one of the famous ones. But yeah, if you ever see a photo of this in its collier fit, it is one busy forest of towers and booms and all sorts of crazy stuff that would actually be pretty cool to build. That would be a neat looking thing to set next to it. But you can kind of tell every one of the vertical tower elements that is supporting this flight deck was the original king post of one of those big cranes. So they had a heavy duty structural bearing point already there, and they just made use of it. By building it, you really start getting a feel for, like, oh, that's what they did. Oh, I get it now. Yes, Harmon.
If I remember correctly, those rules and everything allowed the ships of that class to be coal underway.
Right.
They had
Yeah.
all this mechanism that went over the side
Yeah.
to shove forward the ships as they were underway.
Right. Harmon's correct. I should have mentioned that when I say fleet collier in the World War I era. Yeah, we're talking actual underway replenishment collier. They were meant to, rendezvous with the ships at sea, slow down a bit, but one off of each side, filling them up with coal. I mean, they do, yeah.
Frank Perkins is asking if he can ask you a question.
Sure. What would he like to know?
As soon as it comes up, I'll let you know.
Okay. So, while the question is coming up, yeah, by the end of World War I, it's like, we really are switching over to oil very quickly. And, all our coal burners, the pre-dreads and stuff, like, we really aren't going to use them for much longer. You know what? I don't think we need 6 colliers. Maybe we can do with 5. Let's do something different with this one. And in 1919, just after the war ends, they're like, the British had this interesting thing they've been doing with these aircraft carriers. But we want to try it. So here they go. So the ship is about a 19 knot speed. So it's not a very fast one, but it's about the speed of the battleships of the time. About 540 feet long. And obviously they just built a cage of truss work on top and a big flight deck, and let's see how this thing works. And 1922, it recommissions as an aircraft carrier with a new name, and off to the races, so to speak. It's about 1928-29 before we have another aircraft carrier to join it, being the Lexington and Saratoga, which are a lot bigger and a lot faster, and we're going with that concept from now on. But she provided a very valuable period of learning how this thing works. And in the early years, one of the most interesting features, she had a homing pigeon coop on the fantail back there. They did have wireless, radio to shore, but as a time-honored and useful backup, homing pigeons. Go figure. So yeah, the bridge of the ship is underneath the flight deck in the front. And if you look down along the side of it, you can see all sorts of structure there that basically was part of the original collier. They just put this deck on top and tweaked it a little bit, and there you go.
That answers the big question that I've always said.
Yeah.
There's a picture of a Cyclops, like you say,
Mhm.
Boston, and it has this straight structure on top. I always wondered what that was all about. Now I know, it was because it was one of those.
Yeah. So let's see.
Molten sulfur.
Other things of note. Okay, so the kit itself. Oh, did Frank's question come in yet? Okay. So the kit itself runs about $100. The photo etch and wood deck part is like an extra add-on for $100. So you can build the kit out of the box. It'll look decent, but all of your towers and stuff are all like solid plastic with just the shape of trusses on it. Some of the cross pieces are open, but they're kind of thick and heavy. But yeah, adding on the etched parts and the wood deck was really worth it, and I think really made this thing pop. And I'm very, very pleased how this thing came together. The fit overall was good. For something that's as finicky as it is, with so much photo etch and so much delicate stuff going on, it wasn't that difficult, thankfully. So not for the beginner, of course, but not as difficult as I thought it was going to be. So yeah, it was a fun build. And yeah, the masts, no, they didn't stay up all the time. They'd take them down when they were doing flight operations. But looking at the photos, man, when they're not doing flight ops, boom, up go the masts, and there you go. The little picket fence around here, they call that a palisade. It just planks of wood that they just run up. I mean, they literally straight down, straight up. They'd run them up through the deck, and it's a windbreak. So you could park airplanes here. That would break up the flow of the air so that you wouldn't get strong winds causing the planes to want to lift off the deck. Pretty extensive safety nets around the edges. Oh, the funnels. Let me rotate this thing. So the funnels over here, well, you got to exhaust your smoke somehow. You don't want it in the middle of the ship. The British tried that on HMS Furious. It didn't work very well. For a whole variety of reasons, it didn't work very well. So, kick it off to the side, and then what do you do with them? Well, they decided first they did a single funnel that just kind of rotated back. When air ops, rotate it back so it's out of the way. Somehow or another, they didn't like the single funnel. I'm not exactly sure why, but they switched it to two funnels, which rotated. And then later, they switched it to two funnels, which then pivoted. So that's the fit it's in right now, where they're going to pivot off to the side when it's doing air ops.
So what Japanese did too, and one of them?
I don't recall the Japanese ever doing a movable funnel. But yeah, the Japanese really got paranoid about what their funnels are doing. On the Kaga, they gave it like hot rod pipes. They came off the side close to the water line and back the whole length of the ship, and then vented down into the water at the stern. It's like the craziest looking thing. Into World War II, at the beginning of the war, most of their carriers just had a big funnel that came out the side and angled down into the water. That was their style at first. Later on, the Japanese got into putting it on top of the tower like the Americans did, except they always canted it off to the side. That was their other, very, very peculiarly Japanese thing, which only they did until you get to the USS John F. Kennedy, when we went and did it. Go figure. Yeah, what to do with your funnel and gases is one of those things you've got to figure out if you've got a fuel-burning ship. Now that we have nuclear-powered ones, there's no more funnel. But there is still, well, is it easy to con the ship from under the flight deck? Not very. You're kind of constricted in there. And as for, is there anybody up high who can keep an eye on the flight deck? Nope. You all got it. So you know what? Having that air boss up high is really useful. So there's a couple of reasons why you might want to have a tower, even though it interferes with the clear flight deck. Like, easier to con the ship from up high and get a really good view, and much better to keep tabs on the flight operations if you've got that space. Plus, when you got radars and things, you want them up high, unimpeded. But this is one of those early ones that everybody thought, flush deck, what a brilliant idea, let's do this thing. And eventually they decided, no, not so great. Japanese did one called the Hosho, which was, I think, a little bit longer. She was purpose-built, though. Hull up was meant to be a carrier. Same basic vintage, though. Started with the same concept, no tower at all, but eventually they put a little tower on it because they found it was just too useful to have that tower. Hosho ends up surviving the war. Langley, mid-30s, they convert her to a seaplane tender. And basically, they take the first third of the deck off, leave the back part on, and put some extra cranes here. And, you know, big seaplanes land in the water, they can hoist them on board and, you know, do work on them. Redesignated her, I think it was AV3 from CV1, so that officially she is no longer an aircraft carrier, so that her tonnage was then freed up to build new ships according to the treaties. And in that fit with the seaplane tender, she fought in 1942 and was sunk by the Japanese. So the Langley died in combat, fighting some of the Japanese twin-engine bombers and dive bombers, and it actually happened during daylight. And there's pictures of it. So, and then eventually, as usually happens with carriers, it's hard to actually sink them that way. You can beat them up and make them unusable, but it's really hard to sink them. So a couple of the destroyers that had been escorting her had to, you know, pull the survivors off and then pop some torpedoes in to make sure the Japanese couldn't capture her. So that's kind of how that went. I don't know that she ever operated monoplanes. I think she was out of main service before monoplanes became a real thing. Maybe some of the float planes that she serviced were monoplanes, but at the time she went down, I kind of doubt it. She may have seen a couple of Catalinas, but yeah, biplane era stuff with this one.
Frank said no question, but he wanted to make sure you knew. He said it's a nifty ship and he likes your build.
Thank you, Frank. Yeah, I really like this build too. It was pretty exciting. It was one of those subjects that I never in my life thought anybody would actually do a major production kit of, just because of how convoluted it all is. But it happened, came about, and it looks good. Yeah.
My ignorance question. When you say they came off of coal as the fuel,
Right.
they went to oil,
Yeah.
then the next step is diesel?
No.
I'm thinking of oil as same as coal, only you still had
Okay.
oil, you still had furnaces.
Yeah.
And then when that went away, they actually had an engine, had a diesel engine, right?
No, not exactly. So at the, okay, so talking World War I era,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. 1918.
You've got, you're talking, you know, coal burning ships, you know, stoke the furnaces, boils the water in the boilers, then there were the triple expansion type engines, and there were the turbine engines. So you could have a coal burning ship that is still a turbine engine. It's just how the heat is developed and then what you do with the water, like each phase could be done a different way. So you switch over to oil, the initial concept here is instead of using coal to heat the boilers, you're using oil to heat the boilers. You know, sprayers and, you know, burners and ignition lights and all that stuff. Now, a diesel engine is an entirely different kind of engine that doesn't need to boil water to transfer the heat into mechanical action. It's just, it does its thing. Now, I've been curious for a long time why it is that diesel engines just did not seem to catch on for naval vessels. Now, submarines, it definitely caught on. Probably because when you try to do, you know, boilers and all of the stuff involved, it's like you're taking up so much space, and it just, the submarine doesn't lend itself to that. And the heat, I mean, good night, the heat of those boilers inside a submarine. Diesel isn't cold, but it's probably a bit more contained than boiler action.
Sean,
Yes?
I think the diesels, they had trouble generating a lot of horsepower.
Yeah, there's stuff of that sort. Now, I do know, the Germans experimented with it a bit, and I think the, like the Graf Spee, I think, didn't they have diesels? Yes. Yeah, so they had diesels. So they were trying it out. And they got good performance out of them. But then you get to Scharnhorst and Bismarck, and nope, traditional boilers again.
They need higher speed.
Yeah, there's something about it. I don't know precisely what all it is, or that they couldn't scale them at the time, couldn't scale them up to what they would need for a ship of that size. I'm not really sure. But yeah, it's an interesting question. And diesels existed right alongside the oil-burning boilers, but yeah.
It was a matter of scale, right? A diesel engine, as most of you know, has incredibly high compression ratio. Right? An automobile engine is about
16
10 to 1 to 8 to 1. Diesel engines are like 20 to 1. You have a really big diesel trying to compress like that. If you have any flaws in the casket, the thing explodes.
Now, I think I was reading this one may have also had like that turbo electric drive, which is separating it one more step. Burn the oil, spin the turbines to generate electricity, which then turns electric motors that turn the propellers. Like, so why are you separating it? Well, part of the reason you separated that one extra step is so that you now have some flexibility in where in the ship these things go. Because if it's all direct linked, this has to be here, this has to be here, and this has to be there. But if you can turn it into electricity, then this could happen over here, and then the wires just dump it to where you want it to go. You can make it point the other direction if you want. And you can separate them and have some, sacrificial space in between, so that, the whole back 2/3 of the ship is a danger zone because all of the machinery, one after another, well, if some of the machinery can be way over here and some over here, then yeah, maybe you don't need it to be all the way across the ship. Maybe you can have it in the middle of the ship, spread out differently, and then all of your damage zone to the outside before it gets damaged to the middle. Yeah, it opens up some possibilities. You're sort of losing mechanical and physical efficiency, but you're picking up layout options. And sometimes it's like, you know what? Let's pick up that layout option. I want to put a gun turret right here. And if I had to do the other kind of system, I couldn't put that gun turret here. I'd have to put it off to the side, and I don't want to do that. Stuff happens. Yeah.
So I noticed you built it with the elevator in the lower position.
Yes.
So I looked inside and I got confused
Yeah.
because it looks like if they roll the airplane off the elevator, it's going to drop like 5 feet.
Yes.
What's going on?
Okay, he brings a very interesting point, and one of the weird quirks about the Langley. So yes, the elevator, I decided I definitely want to have it in the down position. Just, if it was up, it's like, whatever, and you might not, it's like, you think that's the elevator, but let's show what it does. So, a couple of things about the hangar of the Langley. They didn't remove the combings and the lids of the coal hold. They left it there. Well, you look at this thing, and later on, have a look at this. It's like, shouldn't they have cut that stuff off, leveled it out, and made a nice, smooth hangar deck, and created a recess so that the elevator could go down flush, and you roll the airplanes right off of it? Yeah, that would be a good idea. They didn't spend the money for that. And that's the key thing. They didn't spend the money for it. The conversion from Collier to this, chop off the king posts and remove the booms, build the new truss work, put on the deck, go. It's crazy, but yeah, you look at it and like, oh, come on, they must have smoothed this out somehow. You look at the photos that are taken of the hangar of the Langley, that's what it looked like. And yes, the elevator sat about 1 foot higher than what's next to it. And that's a big reason why I wanted to have it in the down position, because it looks so wrong, but it's accurate. That's what they did. They may have had a couple of little ramps they put there to roll the planes off of, or the men might have just manhandled it and gotten it down that 1 foot. The planes were not so heavy, and there were a lot of men available.
3,000 or 4,000 pound airplane.
Yeah, you get 5 people lined up under each wing, and all right, guys, okay, there we go. Yeah, you two hold up the tail. Okay, there we are. Yeah, that's the way it was. Thanks for pointing that out. Yeah, that is one of the interesting things. And yes, by the very next class, it's like, yes, flush hanger deck, recessed elevator socket, so it's all smooth. Yeah, we're not doing that again. But on this one, they did. There you go. Let's see, any other questions? No? Great, well, thank you, and thanks for enjoying the Langley a second time.
You're next.
Lest you wonder what you're looking at.
There it is.
Okay. Last time, the Winona, one of 23 90-day gunboats, as they were called. What it was is Lincoln woke up one morning and realized that the Anaconda plan needed a lot of ships fast. And they found there were 23 slips on the eastern coast that could build ships. So they let one set of plans and standardized on a gunboat that could carry one 11-inch Dahlgren for big time, and could operate not only at sea but also inshore. Hence, they had a bow chaser that was a 30-pound Dahlgren. A main gun was an 11-inch Dahlgren smoothbore that could fire out on either side, and then at least 4 24-pounders for amidships. The whole idea, again, was to get these ships into blockade stock service as quick as possible. And like I say, the first 2 of them were actually completed in about 90 days. So that's what the name was. Yes, Sean?
So did it have side panels?
Yes. I deliberately left them up, but they're 16 feet wide, and they drop down. And if you look on the deck, you'll see the rails, so that the 11-inch Dahlgren could be deployed 90 degrees starboard or port. And that was the whole idea. The idea that the big gun only needed to, you couldn't carry two more of these. Like, for instance, the Kearsarge only carried 2, 1 forward and 1 aft. These things were just too heavy. Anyway, the whole idea, like I say, was to man the blockade. They probably took at least about 10% of the blockade runners that were captured were done by these. And they were used not only inshore or offshore, but also in the rivers as well. They had only about something like about a 9-foot draft, so they could get up most of the rivers as well. Pretty versatile ship. The downside was, because they had to be built so fast, they were all built with green wood, which meant that they had a service life of about less than 10 years before they all rotted out. In fact, 2 of them, by the end of the Civil War, had already had their hulls condemned for rotting. The Union Navy knew this and sold them off as quick as they could. There wasn't one of these in the Union Navy beyond 1868. For the same reason, they knew that they wouldn't last very long. Anyway, you're seeing this in a different configuration than the last time you saw it. I originally built this when I was writing articles for Civil War Navy magazine, and all the ironclads that I had built and was in my book, I used them up, and I wanted to stay as a writer for a magazine a little bit longer. So I built this one just for the magazine article, finished it, got it to sea, pretty much a bare deck, and then within a couple of years I came back and populated the deck with all the details, and to include better scale details, like for instance whaleboats actually had, the duck boards were actually blue, because the Union Navy's policy was all Navy ships, the lowest deck was painted blue. So the duck boards of a whaleboat were blue. In fact, the main deck of the Monitor was also, when they raised that, they found out it was blue as well. So that was a policy. So on a bigger ship, obviously, it would be the Orloff deck. But that was another little detail there. Anyway, I had a lot of fun building this, and it actually sails. It's radio controlled, and I've got pictures of it I'll pass this book around. You'll see that there's some pictures of it under sail. The fun part about it was that at Tri-Cities Park, they don't allow motorboat ships at all. So I'd bring it out here with the sails, sail it downwind, come about. It's schooner rigged so that there's no drag with square sails. Sail it up to the top of the pond, turn it about, and then the sails deploy. 10 degrees off the wind, and you've got full sail power and enough steerage way that it actually steered with the rudder. But the best way to steer it with the rudder is with the prop. Anyway, you haven't shown it?
Now, is the hull coppered, or is it actually painted red?
No, it would have been coppered, but what it was is, this is how would I call it, a composite model. I took the hull of the Revell Kearsarge and reshaped the bow entirely, changed the scale from 196 to 172nd, because the Kearsarge was 100 feet longer than the 90-day gunboats. So I changed the scale to 172nd scale, and like I say, built a new bow, and the cross sections were pretty much standard, because that standard ribs that they made from patterns in the lofting hall, in the lofting sheds in the eastern shipyards were pretty much standardized. And as I found when I built the Galena way back, some of you guys remember 20 years ago, I had to use a Cutty Stark hull. I had to cut it all the way down to the keel and build it back up. The steam-powered Union ships had pretty much the same cross-section, because they had to be able to accommodate the machinery. So, and like I say, the hull matches the McCanny referenced publications as far as the drawing shows. So I came up with, I would say, like a standoff scale, if you will. Just a,
Coal burner?
oh, sure.
Oh, yeah.
Civil War. What else was there?
I know, we're using wood with fat and all this kind of stuff.
No. The only place you'd ever see wood-burning steamships would be on the rivers, because that's where the fuel was. Sean?
I see the little number 2 painted on the funnel. Would this have been called USS Gunboat number 2? Or did they actually
No. It was strictly a matter of they didn't standardize on anything in this regard. The whole idea was to make the ships recognizable. So it got a 2, maybe the Huron got a 4 or something like that.
But it did have an actual name.
Oh yeah, this is the Winona.
Oh.
Like I say, there's 22 all of the Unadilla class. And again, as you pass the book around, you'll see every one of them is listed there, as well as which yard built it, what its main armament was. Typically, what you had, the standard armament was the 11-inch Dahlgren, but like the Winona had 4 24-pounders as far as broadside guns, and a 30-pound Dahlgren. The unique thing is you wanted for the bow, you wanted some kind of a rifle cannon, and then for the broadside guns, it varied based on what was available.
How big would the crew be?
Crew, 40 something. Again, too, because the primary propulsion wasn't just sail. You had a black gang too, so to speak. Anything else?
Did you talk about, I didn't see any gun ports, but I mentioned
Oh,
something
they're
about,
there. You stand up and look at it, you'll see them from inside. You know, the whole hull's black, that's why. But the 24 pounders, here's one here, here's one here. The broadside, the 11 inch, there's a big hatch here that just drops down. Again, to take a look at the book, there's one picture of one of the actual ships with it deployed. I guess I should just make one hinge down so you can see what it does. But again, this is under sail. They were wet ships mostly though, because they just were not very good sailors. Pretty good under steam power, and there's probably 5 different configurations of sails. For instance, she's got one square sail forward. Some of them actually had 2, fore and aft. The big thing is you don't play a big square sail behind a smokestack. It's not a real smart thing to do. And again, too, yeah, I remember way back when I was a kid, one of the, I think it was Folgers Coffee, had their trademark was a ship in the background, and it had a smokestack. And I remember as a kid thinking, well, that doesn't make any sense because it's got sails too. Well, that's what it was. Okay, any other questions? Okay, that's all, folks. Anybody else want to do?
It's paper. I went online to papermodelers.com and noticed a fellow wrote that he was building the Andrea Doria.
Oh, yeah.
And
No happy ending there.
that ship had 14 4-pounder cannons. And he decided to make it out of paper because you can make it any size you want. And he designed it on 3 sheets. The instructions are very simple. They're on the parts page. So you print up 3 sheets. I printed it out on 110-pound cardstock. Works fine for all the wood, but when it came to the cannon, the barrel, getting that thing without having a proper solid steel, can't think of the word, that you fold over your paper. 110 didn't roll nice and smooth. Luckily, I was able to get the upper part fairly smooth and put all the crummy part on the bottom. Have to see. Then I ran it off on 96 pound. That's 96 pound. I think this would work a lot better for your cannon. What was interesting about this, when he posted the information, people would remark about how he did it and how it turned out. And someone remarked about it being a 4-pounder. In his original drawing, the hole was too large. So this is the corrected one for firing a 4-pounder out that barrel. Very simple fix, just a circle with a hole. Went together quite easily, quite rapidly. Actually, it was a stress reliever for everything else that was going on, and just cutting these out, listening to a book on tape, and then assembling it. After it was done, I figured, well, I'll go show it off at the SMA. I sprayed it with clear gloss, but it was Rust-Oleum. I just happened to have a can of Rust-Oleum clear gloss. And I hit it, it's got about 4 coats, and hey, that's it. Again, make it any size you want. You can get it right down. But there is your 4-pounder as it appears on the Andrea Doria. The Andrea Doria this is 1776. Got caught in one of the rivers with the British advancing, and our guys decided they didn't want the British to have it, so they scuttled it. That was the end of the boat. That's it.
Well, I had one question.
Oh.
4-pounders. The 4-pounders,
Uh-huh.
was that solid metal or?
I wasn't there. I don't know.
Steel?
Would it be all iron?
Oh, yeah. Well, Vesper steel process didn't come around until 1879
Uh-huh.
in the US. No, they didn't make steel ships or anything until then. And cannonballs were always cast iron.
I had a question. The wheels bothered me. On the ship, did they have the wheels? Did they?
Yeah.
They kept it on the wheels.
But typically, the Marcelli carriage had wheels only in front, so that you had drag.
The one thing I had to look up was the back end, because the parts for the back end look like this. Of course, we assembled it, but then how does it go together? You got round on top, and then it goes inside, in and out, in and out. Oh, okay, well, that's close enough now.
That's why paper is inferior to carved wood.
Yeah. A fun little project. Oh, it's a free download. Papermodelers.com, 4-pounder, download it, and then spend the money on the ink.
How much time, Bob? To build it?
About 3 evenings.
What, 3 evenings?
3 evenings, just, oh, I want to take the SMA Wednesday night.
That's about 4 chapters on the folks.
No.
Books on tape, no.
That was a nasty radio story I was listening to. It's off topic, but talking about authors and having their books rejected because they didn't have any sex scenes in it. I think this guy was rejected because there's 25 discs and there's a sex scene in every single one. And I'm thinking, get on with the story.
Hey, they put that in the school library.
Yeah.
That's, is that it? You run out?
Got a quick public service announcement. PSA, on October October 10th and 11th at Cal State Fullerton, we will be hosting Mini Wars 2026, where gamers from all over the Southland are going to be coming together to play board games, card games, miniatures games, role-playing games, etc. We would like to extend a special invitation to the Ship Modelers Association. If, when you log in and buy a ticket, you can enter a discount code, there will be an unpublished code, SMA4. That will save you $4 off any badge you wish to purchase. A game that you might, and that is only valid through August 31st, so through the end of the month, but one of the games that I noticed on the schedule is specifically for people who enjoy ships. There's a Battle of Lissa. It's an 1811 battle fought with sailing ships. There's a British fleet that'll be fighting against a Franco-Venetian fleet. And that is hosted by Eugene Rodriguez, and it is a very beautiful board. Lots of little model ships about this big, this high, and again, fleets of them on each side of the table. So it's a very eye candy type of a game that you guys might find of interest. So I thought I'd make that available to you. October 10th and 11th. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah,